There's a few things I see people do in Granny Chapter 2 that are either not really good strategies to do because they're risking you losing a day more, or it's just not better to do that specific thing. And I want to talk about that for a moment because it does genuinely get under my skin a little bit, some of the things that people do in this game frequently. So let's talk about a couple things. The first thing I want to talk about is dropping items down the bathroom vent for the front door. Okay, well, it's not like this is a bad thing to do necessarily. The thing is, this is not the fastest way to, like, bring items to the front door. Like, yeah, it's right there. It's decently fast. However, especially in the case of the hand wheel, it's much better to just drop items down this staircase because then you're walking less steps over and you can use multiple items in quick succession on extreme mode without having to worry about the grandparents coming back after each item you use. And again, in the case of the hand wheel, it would be closer to the basement, and you could just drop it down again and use it when you're ready. So you shouldn't really drop items for the front door down the bathroom vent because it's not faster and it can make you take longer to actually complete the front door, which puts you at risk of dying to various bullshit things that can happen in this game. Let's actually demonstrate some extreme gameplay of mine. My usual extreme gameplay, at least. The only gameplay of Granny Chapter 2 Extreme I've really uploaded was me doing it with the, quote, intended solutions, and also by playing Granny's Nightmare Tower, the old version of it. But here's me playing it just naturally, as I would say. Now, here's the thing about this game. This game is the most susceptible to bugs happening, like, 24/7. If you want to avoid dying to that bullshit, what you need to do is not be stingy with your stun gun usage. The stun gun is a very important tool for Granny Chapter 2 Extreme. It's what arguably makes the game even remotely playable on Extreme, because actually playing Extreme the quote intended way is very difficult and can take quite a bit of time to do. However, the way I see people using the stun gun is really stupid. I see people, like, wait right here and not bother trying to go, like, closer to the grandparents. Like, for example, here's me knocking out Granny. What people often do is just stand right here after she's knocked out and don't bother trying to go up the stairs at all. Here's why you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this because you see how long it took Grandpa to get over here? Now I have less time to actually move items before Granny respawns, and then I have to repeat the process all over again. If you want to get through Extreme in a much better way, the better solution would be to purposefully go towards where the grandparents are going to be when they spawn in. And if you're wondering, well, you can't predict that. It's completely unpredictable where they spawn in. No, that's not true. There are several triggers on the map that, when walked through, will make you marked as either on the second floor or the first floor. And when you're when you're in one of these triggers, then that means that the grandparents cannot spawn on the same floor as you. At least that's how it's intended to be. There is one bug that's basically unavoidable and completely random when it happens. There's a bug that we call the respawn bug, where they spawn on the same floor as you. We don't know the exact cause of this bug, and actually avoiding it is a problem, but when it happens, unless you're in a decent spot, like right here in front of this shelf, and Granny respawns there after the respawn bug happens, then you're kind of screwed because there's not really anything you can do. And you're just gonna get knocked out for that. And yeah, you can't really avoid that. But don't worry about that happening because it's rare for that to happen. And regardless of if it happens, you're generally in a position that you can recover yourself from it, and it shouldn't happen again, basically. So right here, for example, the bug didn't happen. So that means Grandpa's on the first floor right now. He's going to be coming up the stairs. Looks like he's at the basement. Yep. he would have gotten here much faster if he spawned at the bathroom because I didn't immediately do the knockout thing. And I knew that, and I was able to quickly get over here and move past this creek, drop the hand wheel down, and I have time to use the special key now. That's the whole point of what I'm getting at. If you do what I do when I use the stun gun, then you have a lot more time to be able to actually move the items in this game. And therefore, you're reducing the chance of you dying to a noise point bug also. Now, if you don't know what a noise point bug is, a noise point bug is what causes the grandparents to stop coming to a noise. We call it a noise point bug because the way this game works is when you drop an item like the stun gun, it generates a noise point, but that's just the terminology for it. What it actually generates is just a waypoint that they're forced to go to by running to it. And sometimes they just completely stop doing it. And the cause of this, the main cause of this at least, is because when they spawn in, they have a timer set to choose a randomized waypoint on the map that isn't from a noise. Because they have a bunch of random waypoints, like Grandpa has a waypoint to the radio that makes him start dancing to it. Or, well, the music on it, I mean, not it, but yeah, you know what I mean. And after they do that, if they hear a noise while they're still, like, spawned in, like, when they spawn in, if Granny will spawn in the kitchen, that would be nice. When they spawn in, they just kind of stand still where they spawned in at, and they do their idle animation. And after a while, they will choose a random waypoint on the map, and this causes them to, of course, go to that waypoint. But if you make a noise before they choose that waypoint, the timer for them to choose their random waypoint after they respawn does not reset. And this is the main cause of noise point bugs. So you can't really avoid it. Like, if you're doing stun gun abuse, especially in a fast manner, you can't avoid noise point bugs. It's just impossible to do it. So the best way to counter it is to just constantly ensure that Granny is coming to you. And when Grandpa respawns, you want to be right on top of where he spawns in. So, on second floor, for example, you saw how I went around this hallway right here with this painting, and I knew he was there? That's because he didn't spawn in the kitchen. He has 2 spawn points on the second floor, and 2 spawn points on the first floor, and Granny does also. But Grandpa specifically will either spawn in this corner in the kitchen, or over here in front of the master bedroom door. Those are the places that he spawns in this game. And if you're on top of it, and make sure you knock him out really quickly, you're not only getting more time to move items, but you're worrying less about the noise point bug happening because you're making himself visible to you, so he can't really, like, make the noise point bug be a problem. That's the whole point of this strategy, the way I use the stun gun. It's by far the best way to do it. And even if it, like, seems really risky to do it, don't worry about that, because you'll, over time, gain more and more confidence for doing it, like, really quickly like this. Where the hell is he? Okay. He was in the sewer. I heard the door open, but he just didn't come up for a while. That was weird. And that's another thing, actually. Actually hearing audio can help you counter noise point bugs also. Because, like, for example, after I knocked out Granny right here, if I were to wait right here for a little bit, and, like, if I wanted to, if I were to wait right here for a bit, and Grandpa noise point bugs as he's, like, in that hallway with that painting, then he can choose his next waypoint to be the radio. And I still see people just stand here if he's at the radio, but you can hear that he's at the radio, and they just stand here still anyways, and just wait for him to come over for some reason, or wait for Granny to respawn to bring him over again. Like, it doesn't make any sense. If you know he's at the radio, just go up here to the radio and shoot him. It's not a big deal. He's not going to just randomly turn around if he's using, like, if he's dancing to the radio. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. So, I know I'm rambling on about this, but my whole point is making people understand why I use the stun gun how I do. And another thing that's important to know about noise point bugs is when one of the grandparents is doing what we call the activities, except when Grandpa's asleep, of course, because he can't hear anything when he's asleep, Like, if Granny's on the piano, if you make a noise that she hears while she's on the piano, and you wait a bit, hey, and you wait a bit, and you're waiting for her to come up, but she doesn't come up. If she was on the piano, that's why. Because when the grandparents are either Granny playing the piano, Granny washing the dishes, or Grandpa is listening to the radio and dancing to the music on it, then after they're done with that specific animation, they get their entire waypoint location system gets reset because they were doing a special animation while they were doing that. So if you make a noise that they hear as they're doing it, the timer for them to reset their waypoint tracking, it doesn't reset. So if Grandpa was dancing to the radio and I knock out Granny at the perfect moment and he starts running over from the radio, he can just stop because the timer for him to reset his waypoint location thing isn't reset. I'm probably not explaining it super properly, but that's the basic gist of it. Where is she? She's over there. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you see what I'm getting at, as I'm doing this in the background and rambling on about this. This is the most important thing that people should start doing when they play this game. They should be more confident with their stun gun usage. And, yes, I'm on the PC version. I can do things more clean. I can do more fluent movements than compared to mobile. But, nonetheless, mobile players can still do these things just fine. It just takes a little bit more finesse and accuracy in your movements with your hands. But it's still completely possible and completely reasonable to do this on mobile. Even with mobile having an actual darker effect of having a harder time seeing ahead of you, it's completely and totally reasonable to do stuff like this on mobile. It really isn't that hard. And next thing I want to talk about when doing this is actually letting the grandparents make a noise for one of them to hear. Of course, people know that this happens, and when the ragdoll falls over, it makes a sound effect. But that sound effect of the ragdoll is not actually what they're hearing. If I knock out Granny right here, and I knock her body backward. Okay, well, Grandpa was up there, so it doesn't work. But let me just wait a few seconds real quick. Okay, now I will let her come down again. Alright, so if I knock her out and then just push her to the back of the wall, her ragdoll doesn't make a noise. But if you're listening, Grandpa was still running. He was still going towards Granny being knocked out, as if the ragdoll made a noise. That's because the ragdoll making a noise, the flop sound effect, that's not actually what makes the noise. What makes the noise when you knock out one of the grandparents is an invisible cube that spawns at their forehead, and that cube is parented towards the position of the ragdoll, and it falls down slowly as it, exists. So, when I knock out Granny, an invisible cube spawns above her forehead, and if I were to just push her against the wall or, stall her falling down fully, the cube falls down this way towards the floor. It goes like this, but it stays parented to the relative position of where her head is. But it's still, going down, regardless of that. So, when you're, pushing the bodies to make a noise, that doesn't work, first of all. That will not make them come faster. But also, you're actually putting yourself at risk of that cube not making a noise, because it can land on top of their bodies, and then it just won't make a noise because they respawn, and then the cube is despawned after they respawn, and then a noise just isn't made for them being knocked out. So, when you knock out one of them, just let them fall down. Don't push their body. Don't be up at them. Just let them fall over and let the cube make the noise. And you also should not knock them out above carpets because, well, Obviously, dropping items on carpets doesn't make noise. So, if they are knocked out above a carpet, then most of the time the cube will not make a noise because it fell on the carpet. Sometimes it does, because sometimes items still make a noise when they're on the carpet regardless. It happens occasionally. Let's see if it happens this time. No, it doesn't. He's not coming. So yeah, the cube did not make a noise that Grandpa heard that time because Granny's body fell on the carpet and the cube fell on the carpet, and therefore he didn't hear that noise. Where is he? He's in the master bedroom. Let's get him out of here. So yeah. Uh, hopefully you understand everything I'm getting at, and hopefully you understand everything I've said, and all of it makes sense. I don't necessarily know if it does. I'm just, like, rambling on about things and hoping that people will understand, and hoping that this will improve your Granny Chapter 2 runs, because, yeah, you're really putting yourself at risk when you be, like, skittish with your stun gun usage and trying to keep yourself at bay, because you're reducing the time you have to be able to move items, and you're putting yourself at risk to dying to a noise point bug a lot higher. That's about all I've got to say. I don't really know what else to say at this point. Oh, I guess I could mention one extra little thing real quick. So let me knock out Granny right here. So Grandpa shouldn't, like, come over here now because the cube is over there and he shouldn't come over here. However, oh, he was asleep. Okay, lol. Epic troll face, I guess. So I guess this is a better demonstration anyway. So this, when the camera triggers like this, even if Grandpa wasn't in the security room, he still hears it. Like, there he is. He was running to the camera. And that's because the camera doesn't work like, oh, he's seeing you on the cameras and he knows you're over there, so he's going to investigate it. No, he's hearing the camera. The camera creates a noise, basically. And yeah, so like when you bring yourself into the camera view, this makes a noise Grandpa hears and he starts running to it. Unfortunately, he noise point bugged. Oh, no, he didn't. I'm just bad at hearing. Lol. There we go, I heard properly that time. One extra thing. This camera right here, this is camera number 2. This camera, when it triggers, it bugs out the cameras for the rest of the game, and they no longer are able to detect you. I don't know why that happens. It just does. So, if you want to use the cameras to lure Grandpa, then don't let that camera see you, because that does genuinely mess up doing that if you want to do it. It can help. You don't have to do it, but it does help with doing the stun gun abuse strats. So yeah, that's about all I gotta say. I've been rambling, and I've just been kind of mindlessly stun gunning them with my strats, but yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully this information will help you play Granny Chapter 2 better.